Darts here. WTW. This is just a short video, which is basically audio only. Just gonna have this picture here of Boris Johnson and Channel 4's news headline: UK's official death toll highest in Europe. Now, I've got another video coming talking about how there are so many people listed to have died of COVID-19 and they're in their late 80s or late 90s, but yet still being put down as dying of COVID-19. And these are the kind of stories that have been over the BBC this last month and before. In fact, ever since this whole entire situation began, they've been talking about old people from the age of 85 to 95 or 97 even, and saying on the news, having their family basically on the news, saying about how they say they've got a woman there whose father died at 97, on the BBC, and taken before his time, and he was so active. Come on, he was 97, for goodness sake. How long do you think he was going to live? 120, 150? Let's get real here. That's another video. In this video, all it is a simple question. And I'm going to ask you, and I want you to put it in the comments. Now, despite the death tolls being, in my opinion, inflated by people who would have died anyway, sad as it is, people in their late 80s and 90s, you can't expect them to live that long. It's like a sob story about it's sad, of course, if your father dies at 95, but you should be happy that they reached that ripe old age. Because they probably didn't have very long left anyway. Anyway, let's get back to my question. My question is to you, the British public. Do you believe that the death toll of the UK is Europe's worst because of immigrants and foreign workers in this country? Now, before you start calling me racist, it's not a race thing, because in my opinion, to be racist, you have to be actually targeting specific things of a certain race, i.e. skin colour. For example, this is more sort of nationalist kind of speech, if anything. So that is the question. To you, leave it in the comments. Do you think that the death toll in the UK, despite the inflation of counting people who were going to, in the late 80s and 90s dying, but the death toll being higher, being due to the amount of immigrants and foreign workers in this country, which is probably higher than most of Europe? Not probably, definitely. Perhaps France has quite a lot of immigrants, but the UK more than any other, I believe. Especially densely packed. I mean, London's pretty much taken over, isn't it? Let's be honest. Most of London, central London now is, well, it'll be like playing Spot the White Man. And if you did spot the white man, you'd probably spot a Polish person or a Romanian. But yeah. Again, not being racist, just pointing out that some areas of London are basically full of immigrants. Now, what I'm saying here, my point is, where I work, basically is full of Romanians and Polish. They're the majority workforce. And even though they put social distancing rules in place, because of me, by the way, not that I sent any. Now, basically, the place I work for, the warehouse, they sent an email out to everybody and saying, we're working really, really hard to make sure we're following all the government's guidelines. And I didn't really care that much about the government's guidelines, to be honest, but the fact that they sent me this email, which was a total lie, sparked me to send them an email in response telling them that they're not following social distancing or any rules whatsoever. I was hoping actually I'd be able to get off work by saying that and stay at home, because I could prove that it wasn't safe for me to be at work. I mean, I'd love to. These people whinging and moaning about being at home and not into work. I'd love to be at home and have a nice little holiday and concentrate on my music or other things that are much more important than packing boxes for people or for customers or people. Anyway, the point is, social distancing rules and different things were put in place and procedures were put in place. And not one of the Romanians or the Polish people are paying any attention to it whatsoever. They're all piling together, grouping together, hugging each other, walking around in big groups. We had these sort of clock out machines. And at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, they put these 2 metre gaps, laid down some tape so you can see the 2 metre gaps. But they're still huddled around like it's basically, I don't know, they're like, you can see like 30 or to 50 of them all just standing together, chatting, cuddling, laughing, joking. And I did say to one of them, I said, hey, to a Polish one, I said, hey, social distancing, 2 metres. And it goes, kurwa, to me. Ah ha ha, kurwa. And then a Romanian, same thing. I said, hey mate, 2 distancing. He goes, oh, F you man, F you, ha 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 ha, social distancing, ha ha. So yeah. And then we had the BBC news stories, if you remember early on in the lockdown when the police was going out to, well, into parks and stuff. And BBC News was there with their cameras and they were basically going around asking these people why they're still walking around and doing stuff in a lockdown. And everyone they spoke to was foreign. Yeah? And I have the video to prove it as well. So I don't just say things with no actual evidence back up, but I haven't got time to put it together. Maybe that's a future video to come, perhaps. But for the final time, do you think the UK's death toll is the worst in Europe because this country has such a heavy population of immigrants who don't respect the UK at all? And basically talk immigrants and foreign workers who don't respect the UK. Okay. And basically laugh at you and talk to you like a piece of dirt in your own country if you dare to say anything about social distancing. Oh yeah, another example. We're sitting down in the canteen and they made sure in the canteen you only have 2 chairs per table, but what the Romanians do is they just grab all the chairs from everywhere else and sit around in groups of 10 and 15 around one single table, more than what would ever sit at the table normally. And then we come to go and eat, and there's no chairs. And we go up to them and say, hey, excuse me, we need chairs for this table. It's only 2 per table. Kurwa, or F you, man. The Romanians normally talk to the English in actual English, whereas the Polish, you normally just get a kurwa mash. So yeah, that's the kind of attitude I'm getting at the moment from the foreign workers where I work, who couldn't give a damn if British people die, even if it is BS, but they couldn't give a damn if people are dying of a disease like COVID-19. They couldn't care less. So there you go. For the final time, I'll ask you the question. Do you think the UK's death toll is the highest in Europe because this country is full of so many foreign workers and immigrants, especially in our capital, London? There you go. In my opinion, it's something that had to be said. Bye.